We hover over the planet of our next campaign, one lost to the light, one lost to sanity. From our forward reports and investigations, the Slaaneshi cult responsible had festered from root to stem, from the lowliest lower hive worker all the way up to the ruling governor's entourage. How long this cult has been active remains unknown, for insidious and hidden are the ways of the cults of chaos, Slaanesh in particular, on the insidious factor. All we know is that the uprising and takeover was sudden and brutal. Took less than a day for the cultists and demons to slay or enslave all who remained loyal. No Chaos Space Marines confirmed yet. Pity, I was hoping to vent even more righteous fury upon the traitors, but their lessers will have to do for now. Our forward operations will soon return, as soon as we get confirmation on the landing site being secured from them, and these scum will know the fury of the Imperium. I am Rear Admiral van der Stram of the 58th Expedition Fleet, and with the Emperor's Angels of Death and his hammer, we will retake this world in his name. For the Emperor. Welcome back, Warlords and Generals, to another Lord video. Today we start covering the colossal topic of the Imperium of Man, the basically main narrative point and selling point of the Warhammer 40k setting. What being the mostly human faction, don't quite want to say good guys because, well, 40k doesn't really have or do that around here. Prospectively, a hilarious exaggerated one for satirical effect. But regardless, this is the faction of humanity from the lower rung guardsmen all the way up to chapter masters space marines. But these two factions are but part of a greater whole. Many factions make up the Imperium of Man, starting with the Imperial Guard, or commonly known as the Astra Militarum, the sledgehammer of the Imperium and the Emperor himself. Then you have the Sisters of Battle, also known as the Adeptus Sororitas, are the militant arm of the ecclesiarchy, the imperial cult of the Imperium, and as a whole they are the most effectively battle nuns, and they are awesome, and also that the ecclesiarchy is the religious faction of the Imperium itself. Following them is another religious faction, but this one is of metal and machines, than of the flesh. This would be the Adeptus Mechanicus, the weapon makers and IT guys of the Imperium. They are the only faction within the Imperium who is allowed to openly worship a deity that is not the Emperor, due to a treaty that they made with the Emperor himself 10 millennia ago, right before the Great Crusades truly kicked off. Their god is the Omnissiah, the machine god, and exactly what it is a matter of great speculation. Some scholars believe it to be the facet of the Emperor himself, while others theorize it is to be a shard of a void dragon, the Necron Catan of machinery. The truth of the matter is only known to the higher-ups of the Order of the Emperor himself. Regardless on the true entity of this priesthood's god, without them the Imperium as a whole would not be even a fraction as well armed or supplied with vehicles and war machines, so they are very essential to the Imperium's war efforts as a whole. Next are the poster boys of the setting, the Space Marines, and probably the most iconic thing about Warhammer 40k in general. Humans forged and transformed into weapons of some of the highest caliber genetically. Created by the Emperor himself, they are his Angels of Death, and they shall know no fear. The process to making one requires that a young boy who needs to be conditioned through rigorous training specifically to survive the implantation of 19 different organs. Most don't survive this process, but those that do are transformed into humans that are beyond human. Being almost perfect ceiling of human evolution, the only thing that I am personally aware of above them are the Adeptus Custodies. Now, if the Space Marines are some of the greatest heroes of the Imperium, the Custodies are demigods. Where Space Marines fight like wolves and a well-organized pack, Custodies fight like lions, each one a master of combat and war. These are truly the peak of human evolution, with the possible exception, but we'll get to them eventually, created by the Emperor, to be his personal guard and caretakers of the Imperial Palace. That was until the return of Rebute Gilliman. I know there are different ways to pronounce his name, that's what I'm going with. One of the Primarchs and sons of the Emperor himself. After taking up to his father's sword, and once again resuming his role as Regent Lord of the Imperium, he has sent a number of custodies into space with his Indomitus Crusade, delivering the new Primaris Space Marines to reinforce all the known chapters with equipment to make even more of these Primaris Space Marines, as well as defend the Imperium as a whole, though most custodies remain on Terra to resume their actual duties. This next faction is one bound by house, family, duty, and honor. These are the Imperial Knights. These warrior pilots, giant mechs called, you guessed it, Knights. These giant war machines wield massive weapons of destruction. However, they are smaller than even a Warhound Titan, making them less powerful and armored. However, this does not take away from their effectiveness. These engines of destruction assist both the Adeptus Mechanicus and other Imperial armies. Being smaller than Titans allows them to be deployed in cities and other smaller corridor-type combat areas, making them more useful for urban combat. These warriors are highly valued, whether they are part of a house or free blades. Now, unfortunately, this is a faction that's hard to skim over, so that's all I'm going to cover for the moment. Now, you may have noticed that I did not bring up the Primaris writtings. That is because for the moment I am skipping them, as we will explore them more in the Space Marine specific video. But we're moving on to our next list, and that is the Officio Assassinorum, or the Order of Assassins within the Imperium, as you may have guessed by the name. When the enemy or general or simply a problematic rising star needs to be taken care of discreetly, the Imperium will send these assassins out to solve the problem to save resources and attempt to foil a full-scale war. And there are 5 different orders. Now, there are 5 orders of assassins within this faction of the Imperium. I am going to skip them and cover them in their own specific video as well. Just know that if you have all 5 sent after you, you are considered a high-level threat to the Imperium, and as far as I'm aware, has only ever been done about twice in the history of the faction. Last of these organizations is the Inquisition. Investigators and effectively judge, jury, and executioner of the Emperor's will, or at least most of them will claim. The role of the Inquisition is to snuff out and eradicate any and all corruption they find within the Imperium. Whether it be the Xenos, demons, or witchcraft, they hold absolute authority and are often the highest rank of any vessel or planet they are on, with the only exceptions being the High Lords of Terra and Gilliman himself. Few who disobey or actively work against them survive long. Some belligerent Space Marine chapters and chapter masters being the few exceptions. There's a neat story with this with the Space Wolves we will cover later. Occasions like this, however, are rare to begin with, as Inquisitors are held in high respects at best or cautious skepticism at worst. Now, this was a brief rundown of the established forces of the Imperium as a whole. Each will eventually be given their own in-depth video to cover in a more wide variety. However, with the colossal topic that this is, I just wanted to give you an introduction on the forces. On that note, though, we have reached the end of the video. I hope you've enjoyed my brief covering of the Imperium. I will be going more in depth with the Imperium's history, factions, and everything else as a whole later. If you liked the video, please leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more content from me or just want to support the channel. I hope you all have a wonderful day.